Welcome to the HR Fix, the HR podcast for HR professionals who want to grow and be the best. I'm Jude Fiddler and I'll be your host. So come and join us on our journey as we change an entire industry. Come on, let's get started. I talk to HR professionals all day, every day. That's literally my job. And it's interesting to me that a large number of these people that I'm working with are what I categorize and what I'm calling consistency queens. And that means that they're really only happy, or they think that the pursuit of good and successful HR is the goal of consistency, and that you have to prove that you are objectively, that's really important word here, that you're objectively being consistent and that you're being uniform. So just say you have two people who may be on suspension, you're going to treat them the same. They could be suspended for completely different reasons, but the fact that they're on suspension, you're going to treat them the same. So, if somebody's off for 6 months and then somebody's off for 3 months on suspension, the 3-month person can't say that they've been off for too long because you're comparing them to somebody else. You always got this comparison. Let's say that somebody's off for long-term sickness for 2 months, then you're going to treat them the same. You might start a capability meeting at the same time. You might offer them occupational health at the same time because you're trying to be consistent, because you think that's what's fair. You think that's what's reasonable. And that might have been the case maybe 10 years ago, maybe even 15 years ago, when we didn't really know any different. We didn't know what the rules and the cases were inside of HR. HR, remember, is always evolving. That's why we say we can't have a fixed mindset. We have to have a growth mindset. We have to always be open to learning. Think about the Equality Act. The Equality Act is only 2010. So relatively recently has that come in. And that's what's taught us to look at protected characteristics and reasonable adjustments and to treat people differently and as individuals. But before that, we sort of didn't really know that that was the goal. And we did think that consistency was the answer to being fair and reasonable. Now we know it's the complete opposite. It's anything but. Now we have to look at individual situations. So let's take an example where two people have been late. They work for the same company. You're the HR manager. They've both been late. The chances are, let's just take one person. Maybe they've been late 9 minutes, 15 minutes, and 7 minutes. The other person has been late 5 minutes, 20 minutes, and 4 minutes. They've both been late for 3 times. Now, most HR professionals who believe in consistency would bring them in. It's a factual issue. So they can't really say, well, actually, that's your word. Can't take my word for it. It's a factual thing. They weren't at work. We understand. We've got the evidence. We know that they've been late. And they will therefore treat them both the same. They look straight at the external effect, so the outcome, what that's going to be. And they forget to look at the reasons. They forget to treat them like individuals. We know for a fact that most cases where people are going to be late for the work in the morning, there will be a reason, whether or not that's because they've got 3 buses and the middle one didn't turn up, so they missed the connection, whether or not it's because they have a sleeping pill that they, didn't take the night before. Maybe they've got problems at home. Maybe they've got different issues, reasonable adjustments. Maybe they just, I don't know, they just, for different reasons, they've got childcare issues, whatever it might be related to other protected characteristics. But when you're also looking at things like that, it's not just what's made them late, it's also the effect that has on the business. So if somebody's working on a call center and they're with a team and they have to take their share of the calls and they're already 10 minutes late in the morning, that could put pressure on other people. 9 o'clock in the morning could be the time when that call center is the busiest, and you could have dropped calls. That could be a financial risk. That could be a risk to reputation. Maybe too many people were on hold that morning because of that situation. But it could be that that person was an administrator, and it could be that actually, if they turn up 15 minutes, 20 minutes, even an hour late, nobody actually notices because their work just mounts up and then they can do it at the end of the day. So actually it makes no difference to anything. That is the sort of things that we need to be taking into account, rather than it's automatic. We have to be uniform. You've been late, therefore you get this. That warning has to go to you because of what's happened. Interestingly, the only challenge I ever get to mine, I talk a lot on social media and I do a lot of presentations and I meet with a lot of people. I talk about HR being broken. Interestingly, the only challenge and the only pushback that I ever get to that is well, what about consistency? That's the number one goal of HR. And I am here to tell you that that is not the number one goal of HR. That is not what we're about. It's not about being uniform. It's about the total opposite. Let's just take a second to think about the things that work inside of HR and the things that don't work inside of HR, the things that we're being encouraged to do and the things that don't work at all. So things like the Bradford Factor. If you know about the Bradford Factor, maybe use it inside of your organization. The Bradford Factor is a scoring system that when people have absences, it scores them on the amount of absences and the length of those absences. It's a purely objective criteria. We give somebody a score, and according to that score, we might give them a warning. We might even be dismissing them. Now, the Bradford Factor is something that we've been told many, many times now over the years. It's out of date, it's old-fashioned, it's too objective, it doesn't work, it doesn't take into account reasonable adjustments. And for that reason, it can be really, really dangerous. Let's think about other things. Let's think about templated letters. They are literally one size fits all. That doesn't cater for a different, that's literally being consistent. That's literally, people say to me all the time, why do we need to craft? I talk about crafting our own letters. Why do we need to craft letters? They should just be consistent. They should just be the same. That way we have a HR persona. When we're writing to people, we have a certain voice. We have a certain, what we call positioning, that actually, dear sir, this is this herewith, find the document. So that's, lots of people have that as a HR persona, and that can't be right either. But they believe that actually that's a really good thing because it means that we're being consistent. That is not true. That is anything but true. That is the opposite of HR. Other things, policies, the policy of following the policy. Well, I can't, allow you to have a flexible working request because I didn't allow this person to do it. Or it doesn't matter that you've got a reasonable adjustment, or it doesn't matter that you're working in a different department, or that other people have been allowed to do it, or that people are working from home, or that you've got this need or this caring, whatever. Just because the policy says no, therefore you have to say no. That is not what good HR is. Good HR is the things that work. We're looking at reasonable adjustments. We're looking at making specific requirements, specific things. We're building strategies and policies around individual facts when we get a HR issue. We're not just taking the facts as we find them and shoving them into a policy. That doesn't work. That's why templates don't work. That's why policies don't work. That's why we need things like reasonable adjustments, like occupational health, like taking people, understanding what their problems are, taking the extra time to listen to them properly so we understand the issues that they're facing inside of the problems that they've got. It's about recognizing individuality, and that, and not consistency, is the key to good HR. Now, I have been looking at why we've been doing this. Why is this the problem? Why is it that we're sticking with this? Why do I have my consistency queens? And the answer that I've come up with is because nobody has given us permission to do anything else. So I, right here, right now, am giving you permission to think differently. I'm giving you permission to not have everything run exactly the same way. That when you've got gross misconduct dismissal, maybe right now, or gross misconduct issue that you're dealing with, that you're going to go, oh, wait, I dealt with that a year and a half ago. Let me go to the file. Let me use that letter. Let me use the same script that I used before. The outcome's going to be the same. No, forget that. Start from scratch. Have confidence in your own abilities, in your ability to understand the situation, to ask those prying questions, to understand, to make sure that you know what's going on. You know why things have happened, what has happened, and how it affects the business. And that is how you're then going to structure what it is you're going to do. That is going to be your process. That is going to be the evidence that you're going to seek, the reasons, the evidence, the justification that you're going to bring into that. And that is how you're going to manage your process. It's not about going to see what you did with something that's completely irrelevant a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was, because you're thinking, oh, that's my comfort blanket. I am giving you permission to think differently, to be different, to think outside of the box, and to start ditching the consistency. That is not the answer to good HR. That is not our goal. It's certainly not our target. It certainly doesn't even bring value. It actually creates risk. The opposite of bringing value is creating risk. And that is where we're going wrong. And I hope that you can bring that into your day. Hopefully that makes sense. Have a great day. Happy HRing. And don't be a consistency queen.